Sorry, guys, I'm kind of unorganized today. Little Nicky, 2000, Adam Sandler movie. The most goofiest movies I've ever seen. And sorry, I didn't really go through the critical reception for the Black Phone, but we'll do that for Little Nicky. I will promise not to forget that for you guys. We have this, and then we have Far Cry review. Then we are done for the day. The cover actually does like a really good job representing this movie, and I think it's the most goofiest movie. Um, it was a bomb though. It did terrible in the box office, but I think it's like so bad and so stupid that it's funny. Um, so with his 10,000-year reign coming to an end, and after torturing Adolf Hitler by shoving a pineapple up his rump, Satan must decide which of his three sons will succeed him as a ruler of hell. So already there's kind of some negative connotation with the movie. It is done in a very goofy way, though. You know it's an Adam Sandler movie. You know it's a comedy. The guy that played Debo, rest in peace, I don't remember his name, was in the movie. I think it was John Witherspoon, also the father of the kid in Friday as well. Oh my god, yeah, you guys know who John Witherspoon is. He was in the show as well, so they kind of took some of the cast from Friday and put it in the movie, given the comedic success of that movie. It had a very high, whatchamacallit, budget. But yeah, Adrian is the most devious, Cassius the cruelest, and Nicky is the kindest. Nicky being played by Adam Sandler. Uh, Adrian is played by the guy that played Debo, I think. Adrian and Cassius claim that Nicky's mother is a goat and torment him by controlling his body with their minds. So he kind of gets bullied. He's kind of like this, like geeky, like dorky, like rock fan. It's kind of weird. You gotta kind of watch the movie. Nicky has had a speech impediment and a disfigured jaw since Cassius hit him in the face with a shovel. So yeah, you get this like dumb, like he's like talking out of the side of his mouth. It's really funny. Obviously, it's making fun of like people with like speech impediments and disfigurations, but it's so funny when you watch it. It's very stupid, but it's also really funny. This is one of the funniest, most funny movies I've seen in quite some time. And for early 2000s comedy, it did me pretty well. I mean, I think that is honestly like peak comedy, if we're being real. Satan assembles his sons to tell them that they are not ready to succeed him, as he will continue ruling hell. And yeah, I mean, his body's kind of like rotting away in hell, rot in hell. That's like literally what he's doing right now. And his sons are kind of figuring out who he's going to rule, but he says they're not quite ready for that yet. Angered by his decision, Adrian and Cassius travel to Earth to create a new hell by possessing religious and political leaders in New York City. So kind of the people from hell going into the real world, going to New York City, wreaking havoc. Nicky obviously like put on a mission to save his father almost, and like spread the words of hell out to people. So as they leave, they freeze the entrance to hell, preventing more evil souls from entering and causing Satan to begin to disintegrate. So now they want their father to die, they want his reign to end, and they want themselves to kind of fight over who gets that throne. Nicky is not going to want to do that. He is a father's boy, I guess. To stop Adrian and Cassius, he sends Nicky to Earth with a silver flask that traps whoever drinks from it inside. It's kind of funny that the guy's name's Nicky. That's also kind of comical. So Nicky has difficulty surviving on Earth, and he has killed several times landing in hell and returning to New York each time. It's really kind of cool. Like every time he dies in the show, he like ends up in hell. He's like, "Whoop, sorry, I failed you. Must go back and try to do it again," and stuff like that. So while learning how to eat and sleep, he meets a possessed talking bulldog named Mr. Beefy, rents an apartment with an actor named Todd, and falls in love with a design student named Valerie Varon. So just when you think, Nicky is starting to fall off and he's not really figuring things out, he's kind of too stupid, he's been in hell, like, this whole time. He was pretty much born in hell. He's trying to go back to Earth and, like, live like a normal person, kind of disguised as a normal civilian to get someone to drink from the flask and get his father saved. Yeah. So Nicky encounters Adrian but fails to capture him and scares Valerie away. He's trying to get Cassius and Adrian. They're kind of playing games on him. Like they're kind of ruining his chances as a human on Earth. Yeah. fighting his inner demons, if you will. Kind of representative of that. Nicky then observes Cassius on television possessing the referee of a Harlem Globetrotters game. I mean, at the time, the Harlem Globetrotters were a big hit around America and around the world. So, yeah, that's like a culturally relevant moment at the time. Nicky arrives at the game and successfully tricks Cassius into the flask. Satanist metalheads John and Peter swear loyalty to Nicky. So obviously, they're kind of making fun of metalheads. They're making fun of these, like the dude guys, you know what I mean? Dude, you know what I mean? There's the bro guys, and then there's the dude guys, and this movie makes fun of dude guys, like the surfer, long hair, shades, denim jacket, metal band shirts and stuff. They're kind of making fun of that trope, that stereotype, and calling them Satanists and stuff in this movie, if you will. To an extent, I guess they are. So yeah, that evening, Nicky apologizes to Valerie, and they reconcile. So he flies up to her window. He's like, "Yeah, sorry about that. I was possessed." And he kind of tells her the truth. He's not really a normal human. He's from hell. He wants to do better. He wants to relieve himself of his sins. There's a decent amount of religious aspect to this movie, and although it's done in a comedic way, there's definitely some messages there. The following day, Adrian possesses the chief of the NYPD and accuses Nicky of mass murder using his power of the chief. He's like, "Yep, this guy's a murderer. We must lock him up. We must prevent him from ruining our chances of becoming the ruler." Nicky has Todd kill him so he can... One of the metal guys, Todd was the actor guy. Todd kill him so he can go back to hell and ask his father for advice, but Satan has trouble hearing because his ears have fallen off, and his assistants are panicking because the deadline to capture Adrian and Cassius is approaching, and Nicky's kind of the chosen one. He's kind of the only one that can get it done, or they're like, "Nicky, please execute." And Todd is a really weird individual. He's his hairline's way the fuck back. I think it's Kevin Spacey. I think that's who played him. Could be wrong. Maybe he was talking about Kevin Spacey in the movie, and he was talking about himself. It's definitely a pretty notable actor. I've seen him in other movies. And he's I've always wanted to kill someone. It was what? I mean, it was weird. He gives off weird energy. So, back on Earth, Nicky and his friends devise a plan to capture Adrian in a subway station, but Adrian discovers their trick and, in the ensuing fight, grabs Valerie and dives onto the track as a train approaches, but Nicky throws her aside, leaving himself and Adrian to be killed by the train. So they both kind of go back down to hell. Obviously they die, and they go back down to hell. They have endless lives because they crawl back. They get through this portal to get to Earth and stuff like that. So yeah. Arriving in hell just minutes before midnight, Adrian begins taking over hell by pushing what remains of his father aside and sitting on the throne, rising to Central Park and starting a riotous party, kind of celebrating hell and getting people to band with him, so when they go to hell they can hail him as their ruler. Again, 10,000 years is how long Satan has ruled. Yeah, and Central Park's where a lot of things go down. All of these characters are kind of mashed together in one, and it's just chaos. Meanwhile, Nicky wakes up in heaven as a reward for sacrificing himself, and meets his mother Holly, an angel who tells him that he can defeat Adrian with the inner light that he inherited from her. So he does a good thing and he dies and he goes out on a good note, so he ends up in heaven. So we're kind of introduced to heaven and being in the show or in the movie. He meets Holly, his mother, who is an angel, when this whole time his father and them in hell tried to get him to think that she was a goat, or mainly Adrian and Cassius, trying to get him to think his mom's a goat so he doesn't get distracted and want to go up to heaven and meet her. After she gives him a mysterious orb, he confronts Adrian in Central Park, where he covers Henry Winkler and bees. Adrian appears to win the battle by transforming into a bat and locking Nicky in the flask. However, Nicky escapes from the flask and shatters the orb, causing Ozzy Osbourne to appear, bite Adrian's head off, and spit it into the flask. So Ozzy Osbourne, the metal guy. Oh my god, all the metalheads are going crazy. This movie definitely has some rock aspects, some rock aesthetics to it, and it's really cool. The early 2000s, rock kind of had died, and we were moving on to a new generation of it. And it was cool to kind of recount those memories of guys like Ozzy Osbourne, guys like Guns N' Roses, and stuff like that. Um, yeah. Um, Ozzy Osbourne, I think, was actually in the film. I think he was in the film. Um, what else? With his brothers captured, Nicky prepares to save his father. After he recovers Winkler and Bees to make sure he goes to hell, he and Valerie express their love for each other, and she kills him to make him go back to hell, pretty much. In hell, Satan regains his body and suggests Nicky stay with Valerie and go back to Earth and actually live a life. He deserves it. He saved his life. 1 year later, Nicky and Valerie live in New York with their infant son named Zachariah, who has demonic powers. So he's kind of spreading hell out into the world, letting hell break loose. John and Peter die in a plane crash and end up happily in hell as honored residents who have been given Nicky's old bedroom to party in. It's kind of a beautiful, full circle moment. They worship this guy and they die. They buy Led Zeppelin's touring plane and they die in it. They die in a sinful way, supporting sinful people, but it's a beautiful ending in their eyes. Approval rating of 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is probably the worst movie I have reviewed, but I mean the comedic aspect was too good to not talk about this movie. It's a very forgettable Adam Sandler movie. I think it's underrated. I don't think it's a good movie, but I think for the laughs, it does its job very well. 3.9 out of 10. Despite the presence of a large, talented cast, the jokes in A Little Nicky are dumb, tasteless, and not that funny, and Adam Sandler's character is grating to watch. I think it's fucking hilarious to watch his character. Thank you very much, Rotten Tomatoes, for that terrible insight. The jokes are a little stupid, okay? The movie's stupid, but it's so stupid that it's funny. Metacritic, 38%, 3.8 out of 10. A lot of people were pushing high 3 to low 4. A B on Cinema Score. The worst comedy ever made by Mystery Science Theater 3000. 2.5 out of 4 stars on Chicago Sun-Times. The best Sandler movie to date. The Nicky character is intriguing. Sandler's lack of finesse and vocal quirks was lamented, I guess. The characterization of Little Nicky wasn't really a blight on Sandler's filmography. Sandler certainly never got this wild again, not in one of his own films at least, and that's something you can kind of hold over this film and be like, yeah, Sandler's never been this crazy, never went this deep, and never had this dark of humor in a movie before. So the fact that he can do that was a big accomplishment. He kind of had to do it at a time. It's a terrible movie, alright? I'm going to say that right now. It's a terrible movie, but if you want something to laugh at, watch it. It's so bad, it's good. That's one of the first movies I've reviewed on the channel that I've had that to say about it. It's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie. It's kind of what I thought about the Games album. If you saw my music video, or talking about music that dropped this week earlier. But anyways, that's going to do it. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed. Not a good movie, just funny and enjoyable. Something you don't take serious, something you don't take as a marvel in film. You're just kind of it's funny. I don't really credit anyone for making this movie, but yeah. Oh, Jesus. Up next we have Far Cry, and then later tonight I have a